PHNX Cardinals live on Thursday. Johnny Venerable Bulbrock, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. It is Kansas City preseason week. We are just 2 days away, Bulbrock, for being live at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. Myself, you, some other folks. Hopefully we can tease in the coming days. Fired up, as well as our special guest, the newest member of PHNX Cardinals, Greg Dortch, will join us here in just a few minutes. But, I mean, the receiving core itself, Bulbrock, is almost as fired up as I am today for this show.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a dominating performance from practice from rookie wideout Michael Wilson. My God, man was all over the place. There was another Cardinals wide receiver that was also impressive today, and the quarterback throwing him the football. But what's up, Chase? Free matter for the blind. Gannon Knight, love that name. Already talking and gassing up our guy, Greg Dortch. Dortch is a starter, always making plays. Absolutely. You will not find anybody on this podcast that disagrees with that. Yep. Dylan Richards, what's going on? Hot and shot first. Good to see you back in the chat, my man. Always good to see you out here. It's going to be a fun one. We're starting to really kind of turn the page to preseason week 2, what we could see on full display on Saturday. Dortch, our playmaker today. Do we have another roster move coming for PHNX Cardinals? Yes, we do.
Tremendous.
Is Ian Rappaport going to break it before we do? Possibly, but we'll let you know hopefully by tomorrow who's going to be joining us each and every week from the BetMGM Sportsbook. But it's going to be is it a dress rehearsal or is it the real deal Holyfield on Saturday?
I mean, I'm going to be hanging there. Come hang out and party with me. Have a couple of brewskis. I'll be watching the entirety of the game there at BetMGM Sportsbook, because outside of the stadium, where else would you want to be? I don't know, Four Peaks on tap. You absolutely love to see it. I think we have an affinity for skill players, young and old, on this show, on this team, Bulbrock. And again, I don't want to bury the headline here. So you texted me earlier today, and these are the kind of text messages I live for on this show and covering this team. It's not a text message like Colt McCoy's not throwing today or Kyler Murray's on the PUP still. It is, Wilson looks dominant today. And I said, this is too good. I got to share this with all the peeps on Twitter. Yeah. Took a screen capture. Of course, everybody's like, which Wilson is it? You think I'm talking about Marco Wilson? And I love Marco Wilson. Michael Wilson, the third-round rookie sensation that I think is a lock to be a starter for this team, dominated today, Bo. We tweeted out the video, him catching a touchdown pass over Marco Wilson. Get my Wilsons confused. What did you see to suggest that how dominant was number 13 out there?
14, man. 14. Number 14 was in his bag today. It was unbelievable what we saw. It was underneath. It was over top. Producer Emma, let's take a look. Let's roll the footage. Colt McCoy, this is just sevens, right? There's nothing crazy here, but, you're going to see him cut inside here, make a big play on 20, who is Marco Wilson. That's Wilson versus Wilson. And then underneath, just streaking across the field, poor Kazir White. I mean, he's the one having to pick that up, and that's just a mismatch, and good for Colt McCoy identifying that. But, and there was more than that. I mean, it's from Michael Wilson. And, he said today, that no matter what it's going to take, why does it feel like he's getting all these opportunities, no matter who's under center in the shotgun for the Cardinals, whether it's a Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune, they're finding 14. It's because the one-on-one matchups, he's making sure he beats his man. And right. He's making sure that he's quick as far as getting off the line of scrimmage. His route running is precise. He's utilizing his he's not the fastest wide receiver, but he's utilizing his speed. He's utilizing his physicality and athleticism. And, man, Michael Wilson, man, I don't think it's just one of those training camp preseason stories where the guy flashes and then goes away in the regular season. I think that this guy is poised to have a big year for the Arizona Cardinals.
I mean, like you mentioned it, I think the best point you can make is he gets targeted because he's open all the time. It's not like, hey, this guy was a top 15 pick, we got to force him the football. And that sometimes happens in the NFL. You get prioritized, and we've seen it with this franchise, and you've got deprioritized depending on where you've been drafted, and you've been prioritized if you were a first or second round pick. It's like Michael Wilson could have come into training camp, or better yet, OTAs, and just like, you know what, I got to get my sea legs under me. I didn't play a ton at Stanford. I'm just going to defer to the more experienced guy. He's like, no, I'm going to come take a starting job. That's absolutely what he's doing. He's outperforming not only the receivers on this roster on the outside, with all due respect to Zach Pascal and Hollywood Brown, he's taken it to the Cardinals' best defensive backs. Like, we've seen him do this to Budda Baker and now Marco Wilson, and all the defensive backs you want to throw at him. Antonio Hamilton had a tough day when I was at training camp with you trying to cover this guy. And it's like, these are capable corners, and in some facets, all pro level players for the Cardinals secondary, which I think is going to be the strength of their defense. And he's just having their way with him. And he's doing it with all due respect, with a 5th round rookie and a quarterback right now that I think is a year away from retirement, and Colt McCoy. And so, people need to just accept the reality of it. If this guy stays healthy, knock on wood, that's the biggest caveat. He is going to be a playmaker for this team. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a part of a similar draft class by Dave Sears, who went, 2 or 3 rounds later than Michael Wilson. Was Amon-Ra St. Brown a 4th or a 5th round pick? He came in and almost had 1,000 yards as a rookie. It's like, I know they play different positions. I'm getting the same kind of vibes of like, oh, this guy, he's like our 1A, 1B kind of receiver to Hollywood Brown. I think right now, the best receiving core that the Arizona Cardinals can trot out there are Michael Wilson and Hollywood Brown, and our guy, number 83, Greg Dortch, underneath, dominate in the slot like we know he can. But they just have not had anything like him to compare to, even dating like Michael Floyd. If you guys followed the team in 2012, did not have a training camp like this. Not even close. It took forever for him to get going. So you gotta watch the signs and believe them when they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. The signals when you got Gannonite and Dylan Richardson. I like the back and forth going on in the chat about it. Why isn't Michael Wilson getting all the publicity nationally? It's because there are several wide receivers drafted in front of him. I mean, you've got Smith-Jigba, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. I mean, you've got guys right there within the first in the first round. That are going to get the attention, and they're going to flash in camp, absolutely. And a lot of people in Wilson, himself, he was a guy that was making plays in shorts. But I think that there's something that will separate this rookie class, especially from the rest of the pack. And I think Wilson has the ability to do that. Like right now, I'll tell you, I'll take Marco Wilson. I'm sorry, I'll take Michael Wilson over Tank Dell. I'll take him over Marvin Mims Jr., guys that were ahead of him, probably Rashee Rice, who's in a more favorable situation in Kansas City. I think that they're outside of the first rounders. I think he's right there in the mix, and probably if he doesn't have the injuries, he's in that second round tier of wide receivers and doesn't fall all the way to 96.
Who are some of the first round receivers that you would take over him? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's not too many wideouts, period, in this class that are having the kind of training camp that he's having for this franchise. I mean, maybe there's a couple guys that you would say, yeah, just their pedigree, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they've got better quarterback situations in the short term, and they're going to pop off. I'm sorry. Who is the kid out of TCU that we loved that went to the LA Chargers?
Yeah, Quentin Johnston. Yeah.
So he looks a little sketchy in camp. He's been dropping a ton of balls. If you follow the peeps out in LA covering the Chargers, Michael Wilson's not dropping any balls. I mean, some of these guys in the first round are going to bust. They're not all going to pan out and be great players. It's just, I think we are so conditioned to say, well, where was your college production? Indo facto, you can't be a better pro player than a college player. It never works like that. We are seeing right now, if he stays healthy, he is going to be the exception to the rule. He is going to be DK Metcalf-esque, where the production wasn't there for whatever reason, circumstances, injuries, quarterback play, coaching, and then they come to the NFL and they were just built for the NFL. And that we talk about that every draft season, Bo. It's like March and April, we want to do plug and play. This guy had 1,200 yards rushing. This guy had 15 sacks. And it's just like, why is this guy, Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, projected to be a top 5 pick? Where was the production? And all we heard from people, it's about projecting to the NFL level. And Michael Wilson, say what you want about his college production, his inability to stay healthy. He was projected to be a top 100, top 75 pick in this draft because people looked at his physique and his skill set and said, that translates to the NFL.
Yeah.
Andy Isabella, your skill set doesn't translate to the NFL, right? But it's no, go look at Andy. He was the number 1 rated PFF wide receiver that year in college football. He had like 1,800 yards.
Right.
He can't play in the NFL.
Right. I mean, he was playing at UMass. He wasn't playing the Pac-12. At
Stanford, though, right now.
It was down. Look, it was down. Outside of Tanner McKee and Michael Wilson, there just wasn't much to that roster. But poor Andy Isabella taking ricochet shots here as we talk up the Cardinals' latest rookie. I mean, 6'2", 210. If you're talking about guy projectables, give me that over 5'10" and sure a good amount of speed to burn. And somebody asked me today, was like, hey, Andy Isabella is making noise in Bills practice. I'm like, buddy, it's Andy's season. Okay. This is when Andy Isabella shines. Unfortunately, like, this is it. It's not like, just wait till the lights get a little brighter. He'll go away. And that's just it. That's
he'll
just
go away. Where's
he
going?
What?
He'll go away. Where's he going?
Yeah.
Going to the bench?
Probably to practice squad. I don't know. It's not NFL stardom. It's not being a productive wide receiver. It's not being the nightmare of Cardinals fans' dreams, where we let another guy walk and he goes and finds success elsewhere. I don't see that happening. Yeah,
I agree with you, and I think again why I'm so bullish on the three players in this lineup that I am, and I think the depth is good too. Like if Rondale Moore is healthy, I know I knocked him yesterday for fantasy stats, right? That were 700 plus. Go look at the video on PHNX Sports on YouTube.
He wasn't behind the keyboard on that. Like, I'm gonna get 70 catches, 700 yards. That's
I just mean like if we can separate that fantasy land, which is not a reality, and just say, hey, Rondale plays 17 games, like he'll be productive.
Yeah,
I just feel like the three alphas in this skilled group, with all due respect to Zach Pascal, who's a nice complementary player, and then Rondale, who's clearly talented. The best three wide receivers on this team, when this team goes, 11 personnel, one tight end, three wide receivers, is Hollywood Brown, who's made a Pro Bowl, who's had 1,000-yard seasons. He was a first-round pick. The opposite side is this phenom out of Stanford, and underneath it's Greg Dortch. Because what Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch give you in the passing game, which is why we led the show with this, and why I think this group is going to surprise, is immense yak, yards after catch. And so you watch Greg Dortch in practice and Michael Wilson, they do the hand drill. Does anybody know what the hand drill is? When you feel like you're about to go down, I can't tell you how many times Greg Dortch does this. You put your hand on the ground and you tuck the ball away and you keep the play going. It is not an immediate tackle. And it's one of the biggest indictments of all these receivers the Cardinals have drafted in recent memory. Under Steve Keim, it was just like there was no big playability. Dortch, you saw it last year. I mean, that catch and run against San Francisco was fantastic because it was all effort. The player, they complement. I think that those triplets, they complement each other so perfectly. And I think they can even play well with a guy like Colt McCoy, who is limited throwing the football underneath. Let Dortch, let Michael Wilson operate in the short, intermediate passing game, and they will break one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Michael Wilson, I know that you were you didn't like it that he was taking punts in, I think, OTAs, right? But I mean, what do we know about a punt returner? And Greg Dortch is the main punt returner and kick returner for this team. You put the ball in their hands and they make plays in space. I mean, that's yak. That's pretty much yak. So, I mean, those are two guys, in Rondale Moore included, that they say, hey, get the ball in their hand, get them in space, and they're going to make plays for us. And that's just what it is. I mean, they've got guys that are just going to be able to make plays for them if whoever's throwing them the football is going to get them the ball.
We're waiting on our guy, Greg Dortch, to join us, our number one receiver. But in the meantime, again, I mentioned it. If you're ready for this Saturday, sign up now. BetMGM Sportsbook, the premier sports betting app. Again, best place to be this Saturday. BetMGM State Farm Stadium, the Great Lawn. Double tap into your app. Use that bonus code PHNX. Few different offers depending on where you live, Bo Brock. But for our folks in Arizona, place your first bet offer. Receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. I still have to place my Cardinals money line bet, which I believe is plus 200. I saw somebody early in the chat saying, got to get a sack on Mahomes. I think that will happen. I know for sure this is going to happen. Download the app now, and it will save you money. Bonus bets is like Christmas morning every day on BetMGM. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana.
Our guy GD coming up here pretty soon. Got to tell you about Wink and Countdown, of course. The seltzer with Wink has got a THC in it. Check it out. This brand new product. We're excited to partner with them. How much does it have in it? How much THC? Just a wink. Summer's not a spectator sport, so grab an ice cold Wink and go play. It's got that THC to CBD balance, that golden ratio that everybody's looking for. Check it out right now. 0 calories, 0 sugar, and no alcohol. It tastes refreshing, and it's going to be your new favorite flavored seltzer. And then also check out its sister product, Countdown. Get ready for liftoff with Countdown. Escape the ordinary with Countdown. Available in 2.5 milligrams and 5 milligrams cans. You can find Countdown at Wink right here in Arizona. Look for Wink at Sunday's Goods dispensaries in the Valley and Botanica Dispensary in Tucson. They're now in 12 states nationwide, including AZ. Launched online ordering and home delivery with a dozen others. Find the fastest way to get your hands on it. Go to DrinkWink. That's DrinkWYNK.com.
Lots of good engagement in the chat as we are moments away from being joined from our number one receiver, Greg Dortch. Kyle in the chat, I think Tyson Williams should be second to James Conner. He showed good speed and vision in the preseason. He was fantastic in the fourth quarter. Averaged over 5 yards per carry against the Denver Broncos. And Bo, that's a position group right now. Did Keontae Ingram practice today, Bo? Did you see the big man out of USC?
Yeah, we saw him out there.
Okay, that's good. That's good news.
We got him, and it looks like we got our guy Greg Dortch is going to join us here now on PHNX Cardinals, our playmaker. What's up? You can take a swig of that water, Greg. It's all good. You know, Greg, there was a play down the sideline the other day as we got your mic muted there. Let's if you can take it off mute. Yeah, there was a play down the sideline at the facility in Tempe. You couldn't connect with your quarterback, but you're coming back on the field, and you made contact with a reporter. You gave him a shoulder. And that was me. Was that intentional, my guy?
I don't think that's how the story went. But I apologize for that. I don't remember that though. I probably was so mad that I didn't complete the pass that I probably bumped into you out of anger. But I apologize for that.
Oh, you're good. You were 100% dialed in on that play. No need to apologize.
Make it count next time. Can we get Bo on crutches for the show, please?
No, I can't do that to my man.
Can we take him out from the legs down? I mean, we were talking about your yak ability before you got on the show. We were talking about the hand drill in particular. I must have seen you when I was at training camp. Put your hand down after the catch to break tackles maybe a handful of times. Is that something that you mastered as a high school player at the collegiate level? Because I don't see a ton of receivers be able to pull that out of their repertoire.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just a gift that I've been given, honestly. Just being able to take hits and just like roll off of them. I don't like to get hit, so anyway I can kind of stay up and avoid those, I try to do that.
I see over your shoulder you got an awesome AJ Green jersey, obviously one of your former teammates. There's been a ton of changeover as far as the wide receiver room, but Johnny and I were just discussing about the depth to this room. Obviously you've got Hollywood Brown poised for a big season yourself, Rondell Moore. He's hungry. You got the newcomer to the group, Michael Wilson. How are you guys feeling about this revamped wide receiver room?
We're feeling good. I'm really excited to see everybody just get out there and let loose. Week 1 against Washington. Our core is so special, man. We just got guys who love to play football and just come to work ready to work. We got a great coach. So he pushes us every day. We're just all on the same page right now, and it's fun.
What was that dub like on Friday night? I know you played sparingly in the first half. I would have loved to have seen you all 4 quarters, but we'll wait for the regular season for that. But the music that was coming from the locker room was palpable. And then Gannon comes out and he's all stoic and super professional like he is, scary at times. What was the atmosphere like in the locker room? Because again, like people externally, they throw out bullshit like you shouldn't celebrate preseason wins. But I think this franchise, given where you guys were last year to where you've come now and where you hope to go, I mean, that was a big deal Friday night, was it not?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's weird when people tell you not to celebrate anytime you win in anything.
Right.
It's hard to win. This is the highest level of football. So whenever you win, whether it's preseason or you win a rep in practice, celebrate it. You get what I'm saying? Like you can build off certain things like that. And last year we didn't have a good year, so this win felt like just a big relief off of everybody's shoulders. And we get that it's the preseason, but you got to start somewhere, and I feel like we're building the right things.
It was the first game, obviously under JG, and then of course Drew Petzing's offense. What were your feelings like out there, kind of running in that style, as opposed to what you've been playing in last year under Kingsbury?
Yeah, I was excited. Still a lot that we haven't shown, and that I know we will show as the season progresses. But I was definitely excited to get out there and just let everything just play free and just be loose. Football is fun, and it should be fun. And I just try to have fun when I'm out there.
Getting a lot of love in the chat. Dylan Richards, man, I want Greg Dortch to stay a Cardinal fan fave. Coney in the chat. Dortch is so loved for being a baller. One of the very few bright spots last year, Greg. I know we've talked about that, the frustrations that came with last year, and then yet seemingly every time you were given opportunities, you ran with them. Talk to me a little bit about how this offseason went, because I know this show, this program, Cardinal fans were like, well, you can't let Greg Dortch leave. And then getting tendered by a general manager you hadn't met before, a coaching staff you didn't know. What were those conversations like, if you're able to share anything like that? Because I always think it's the utmost respect of, like, the new regime watches last year's tape and is like, we got to get this guy back in house.
Yeah, everything was like out of my control. The only thing that I could control was the fact that I could tell them that I wanted to be a Cardinal. I love Arizona. I feel like Arizona is the reason why my career has even jump started when I got here 3 years ago. I was out of the league before that, so I got a lot of love for Arizona, man. I'm really thankful and just excited to be back in the building. And we got a really good thing brewing, I feel like.
You get the opportunity. You guys won the coin toss, and you decided to take the ball on offense. So you get your hands on the ball the first time of the entire Jonathan Gannon era. I mean, that's got to be fun, man. That's got to be an honor. What's it like? How do you not get too amped up there, waiting to return off the kickoff? I mean, you got the Red Sea up, all 68,000 people going crazy. That ball's in the air. Just take us through that moment.
It's so surreal. Like I said, I've always wanted to play in the NFL, so just moments like that are super big to me. But then I'm still mad about the fact that I didn't score. Every time I try to touch the ball, I try to score, and that would have been crazy to open up the whole season like that. But I didn't score. But I was really mad about that.
Talk to me about the situation at quarterback, as much as you can. I know we're waiting on, hopefully, Kyler Murray coming off of PUP. I'll just say sooner rather than later. This show, we're on bated breath when your quarterback QB1 gets to come back. In the meantime, you've got Colt McCoy, who played well in one series last Friday, and you've got now Clayton Tune, who I thought, Greg, played much better as the game progressed, and in the third quarter especially was making some nice throws. I mean, how do you assess the quarterback room right now in Arizona?
Yeah, I love the quarterbacks, of course. They're the reason why I get the ball, so a lot of love to them. I know they work really hard, and they're very detailed and smart, and they know exactly how Drew wants to run the offense. And last week was the first game. It was really the first time a lot of us have even been out there since last year, gotten tackled, and so it's you kind of didn't really get to see much because certain guys didn't play that much. But I think as preseason goes along and guys snaps increase, I think we'll be able to see a lot more.
Gannonite saying AZ loves you. Mama Murray saying in Arizona loves Greg Dortch. Just love the chat right now. It's electric. We talked to Michael Wilson today. He was on fire today in practice, making plays all over the field. And, I had asked him, like, who's he been leaning on as far as, in that room, just for getting his first taste of NFL football. He said, he mentioned you, he mentioned Andre. What have you seen from the young man out of Stanford?
I love Mike. Every time somebody brings him up, it's nothing but good, positive things. He's a really smart kid. He just does everything the right way. Like, if I had a teammate that I would want to go to war with, it would be Mike. I know he's gonna show up. He's tough. He's gonna make the right play. He's gonna block. He just does everything. He's everything that you want in a receiver, and he's young, and he honestly just wants to win.
I don't want to talk too much about what transpired last year from a coaching standpoint, but I do want to discuss with you, Greg, the difference that you've seen from your new head coach in Jonathan Gannon, maybe your new offensive coordinator in Drew Petzing. Like, what are specific changes maybe that you've seen transpire during training camp that you're just like, man, we're on our shit this year. We know what we're doing. We're prepared. Is there anything that you can pinpoint, like, that you can give our viewers, like, guys, this is something that is a game changer for this franchise?
I just think they value the whole team aspect. Like everything that we do is a team. Um, like it's literally team over you. Like you got to put the team before anything you do, any decisions that you make. Think about the organization, the team, and I just think just getting that in the building has changed a lot of things, and guys are taking ownership, and it's just the right. We're going the right way.
We hear the word accountability. We hear, pay attention to details, and I feel like we heard those words last year, but I feel like we actually like the coaches are explaining it better, and the coach is resonating with the players, and everybody's loving it. Like DJ Humphrey said, it was a culture shock, not just a culture shift. Are you getting the same feel?
Somebody asked me that earlier, and I can agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely like if you've been in the building, it's a good change. It's a really good change. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Guys are just buying in. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like I think it comes a point where you just wake up every day, you excuse my language, you bust your ass at practice, and then on Sunday you don't win. And that really hurts. So I think guys are buying in, and we want to win, and we want to do it together.
You can swear on this show as much as you want, Craig. No issues with that. Now, on a lighter note, and this is probably going to come to a shock, like your boys here, Johnny and Bo, we finished almost dead last in our fantasy football
what do you got to
league
tell
last year.
G that
No, I'm
for
just
us?
being transparent. If we're going to have a relationship with Greg, you need to know these things. So give us some fantasy advice as it relates to you, because like you're going to be a hot commodity in our league. We have our draft in a couple of weeks. Like, what can the peeps expect? What round should we target Greg Dortch this year in fantasy football?
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I don't know anything about fantasy football.
Wow, that's crazy.
I swear, I don't know anything. I do have a question.
Okay.
Do you guys get like certain points if like a punt or a kick return goes back for a touchdown?
Oh yeah.
Like
You get
like
I
a
think
lot of
you get
points.
the equivalent of a touchdown. Plus, we get a point per reception. It's PPR.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to do that for you guys a couple times
That's
this
great.
year.
It's our all-purpose player, Johnny. Speaking of punt, like if you made it out to any of the public practices, I always love when the punt returners get back there and you try to catch as many footballs as you possibly can without dropping one. I think I saw your high was 6. What's your?
I'm not gonna lie. Nah, I think it's 7. They won't give me the 7th, but I caught the 7th, and then as I backed up, I dropped one, and it was like.
Well, the time I was watching, I got it on camera. I think we showed it during one of the shows. They didn't even put the ball close to you, so you had 6 in your possession, and I think you had 1 or 2 between your legs. And I mean, they didn't even put it close to you, so you didn't even really get a chance to it. So I thought you deserved another shot at it.
I thought I did too. I think we ran out of time, but yeah, I mean, having that many footballs in your arms is limited movement. You can't really move, so. And if the jug's not set up perfectly to come right to you, it's gonna be hard.
What do you think it is about that skill? Because it's underrated in my opinion. I think I saw a hilarious clip of Kevin Hart trying to catch balls at Rams camp one time. It seems impossible to me. You make it look so easy. You just kind of let the ball catch you a little bit. It's so soft. Yeah. When did you kind of master that?
Honestly, it started in high school. But in high school, I used to let the ball bounce like 1 or 2 times and then try to pick it up off the ground. I didn't really have the confidence to catch it in the air. And then just working at it. I knew that coming into the NFL that that they didn't look at me as a receiver, so I would have to get it. Either it was a punt return or kick return. So I just got really good at catching punts. It's funny that we're talking about this. I talk to Isaiah Simmons all the time. Like, bro, I bet you can catch 3 punts in a row. And he's like, bro, that's easy. I can do it. I guarantee it's a lot of my teammates that think it's a lot easier than what it really is.
So I don't think Chad can keep me honest. I don't think we've had a punt return or a kick return, certainly a kick return for a touchdown since David Johnson did it back in 2015. You obviously know the work of P2 Patrick Peterson, what he did in that rookie year. Like, who do you watch as inspiration or guys you model your game on from a return standpoint? Because I'm ready to say it right now. I think you're the best return man since we've had a P2 or a David Johnson.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Still a lot of work to be done, but honestly, I feel like I gotta say Devin Hester. Growing up, Devin Hester is the ultimate GOAT. Reggie Bush, just a lot of guys who can make people miss in space. There's a lot of talented punt returners in the NFL right now that I watch too. So, man, I'm really excited to get my first one. That first punt return is gonna be crazy. I feel like it's just once you get that first one, then you might get another one, then another one comes in. Next thing you know, you're in the Pro Bowl. So I'm really excited to try to get that.
You ever going to put Isaiah to the test? You ever going to put him back there with maybe even with just the jugs machine?
Nah, not the jugs. He got to do it off the foot. The jugs, the way it comes out of the jugs is a lot different than actually like, off an actual foot. So
a little easier.
Yeah, the jugs is easier.
Yeah. Is it weird? You've got a left-footed punter in camp now, and Matt Hawk. Is there a big difference?
It's a difference for sure. I love it though. Like you don't get a lot of lefty punters in the NFL. And when you do, it could kind of throw you a curveball. So just to have one on our team and see it every day, it's really a blessing. We have a right-footed guy too. So I'm really fortunate enough to have a left and righty punter.
My last question to you, Greg. We know you're going to ball out this year. You're going to earn the opportunities. You're going to make the most of them like you did last year. Give our audience, if you could, one Arizona Cardinal that you feel like is having just a bomb-ass training camp that's poised for a big regular season that maybe is a little bit under the radar, that's not getting as much headline as they should.
Keytrell Clark.
Ooh, I love that. That's JG's boy, huh? That's his baby, he called him.
Yeah, he's a dog.
What is it? Is it just his competitiveness?
I think it's where he's from. If you look at where he's from, I think that'll tell you everything that you need to know.
Is it the big VA like you? All right.
Yeah.
I mean, special people are from that state, including myself.
I'm telling you. Who? Where you from?
I'm from Northern Virginia. I'm from Falls
Church.
Yeah,
you told me that. Yeah. I'm tripping. Yeah.
We're
just different. We're different.
Let's get this one super chat in. We appreciate anybody, and you can obviously get in on it as well if you want to do some super chats. Free matter for the blind, $10. Keep bouncing off those weak ass defenders, my man. AZ loves you, brother. Great stuff from Greg Dortch. As always, he's going to join us a couple more times before the end of the preseason. The newest member, the playmaker of the PHNX Cardinals crew. Greg, good luck on Saturday. We're looking forward to it. We're all watching as well. Have a great game, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
See, Greg. Hey, you heard from the man himself. Go get the t-shirt now. Number 83, the PHNX merchandise locker. Pick up some gear, the hottest gear in the Valley for the hottest player, number 83, our number one receiver, Greg Dortch. You can get it at the PHNX merchandise locker. It is the player tee. Check it out now. You will not be sorry that you did. I mean, it's tremendous insight from a player who I think, again, no bias. If Greg was not on our team, I'd still be of the mindset he's a starting receiver. And he deserved more opportunities last year, and he's going to crush it this year. I mean, you look the training camp he's having this year. It'd be easy to say, well, last year he had a bomb training camp, and then they didn't give him, his due during the regular season. So let's just mail it in. And it's like he's doubled down on last year's training camp, and he's a man on a mission.
Yeah, he is. He's dialed in, and it's just he's kind of like Ham, where it feels like each and every coaching staff, he's got to prove himself, and he continues to do so. He just puts his head down and puts in the work and creates opportunities. We heard from Michael Wilson today too. Like, how do you get open, and how do, no matter who the quarterback is, how do they find you? And it's winning those one-on-one matchups. And 83 does that as well. I mean, he just gets out there, goes to work on his matchup and dominates. I mean, the biggest as far as the next level analytics, as far as separation last year, Greg Dortch was number one in the NFL as far as getting separation against defenders. I mean,
should we play those guys? Are those guys worth playing?
Yeah, 4.5 yards, almost 5 yards of separation. I mean, for a guy like Kyler Murray, as accurate as he is, it makes his job a lot easier.
That stat, man. If I'm a certain OC QB coach out in California, that stat does not make me feel good looking at that. And so we continue on. I love this in the comments here. Dylan Richards, man, PHNX killing it. You guys are killing it in the chat. You guys were killing it with the engagement during Greg's interview. And listen, like, we want to associate ourselves with people that you guys love and appreciate because we appreciate. Because Greg Dortch is an easy guy to root for. I'm sure there are players around the NFL that aren't easy to root for. Greg does not fall in that category. You saw him overcome obstacles last year with a team that was not buttoned up, quarterbacks in and out of the lineup because of injury. And then the situation with the offense itself, he's balling out in the preseason, carries over to the regular season. I mean, he's one of the most genuine human beings And that's why he was an immediate target for us to bring on PHNX Cardinals.
Yeah, he's not going to rest on his laurels from last season, even though he could, and he can be disgruntled about it. And he's not. He's just focused on what the next step is in his NFL career. And he expressed this when he joined Yuma and Saul after the red and white scrimmage, saying, it's a what have you done for me lately league. It's like you have to produce, and when your number's called, if you don't produce, they're going to find somebody else, and he understands that, and that's huge, and that's that fits within the fabric of this organization, even more so than it did last year, where they were doing it based off where you were drafted or how much money you were given in free agency or what you were traded for, and now it's like, who's the best player? We're going to play the best guys.
And that's exactly right. And that's what, Ed Strings in the chat saying Dortch needs to jump more on the depth chart. And like, that's a shtick that I do because I really believe that. But it's like, who's producing winning plays, not who's the fastest guy or maybe has the best catch radius or any of that garbage. Who can make winning plays to help you on Sunday? Greg Dortch is that in a nutshell, right? Whereas Rondale Moore, I think we're still waiting for him to put that together. But I have no problem saying it. I think Greg Dortch is a more well-rounded NFL wide receiver than Rondale Moore. I think he's got a better feel for the game. And again, that's not a knock on Rondale, but like, watch the game with your eyes. It's obvious who can catch the ball more fluidly in space, who can separate easily. But where I will give Rondale the benefit, Bo, is the offense that he was a part of. Like he and Greg didn't have the same route tree. Like Rondale was used as kind of a gimmick of Cliff Kingsbury. So now he has a fresh start, as does everybody else with Drew Petzing.
Yeah, and I don't think Dortch views it as, him versus Rondale. I think he just views it as he wants his own separate opportunity.
Right. I expect to be on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm sure he's a big fan of Rondale Moore. I'm sure he's a big fan of every single wide receiver and has a whole lot of respect for all the guys competing and trying to vie for roster spots or guys, snaps in the first team and second team offense. So great insight there from the newest member of PHNX Cardinals, Chase, saying Dortch has that X factor. Yeah, and he's got that all-purpose ability, and he's got that because of his durability, right? Remember when we were talking about him after kind of coming out and proving us right when we were talking about Dortch throughout training camp last year.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and has a solid game with Trace McSorley throwing the football in Cincinnati. And he had like a knee contusion or a knee bruise. He missed the day of practice. He's right back out there. And this is a guy that's used in teams in the offense. It's that durability is one of his best characteristics.
It's just playing hungry, right? And there are so many people in life that are not given anything. And that's how this guy ingratiated himself to the Valley. It's just like he get lit up on a play. He keep the football. You'd think he'd be done for the day. He's out there on the next play. And it's just I cannot remember a time in which he's fumbled a ball, dropped a wide open pass. I mean, to me, he's going to be somebody that's just waiting in the wings to make plays for this team on Sundays. And it's going to be a special day for this show and the fan base here for the Arizona Cardinals when he does house a punt return or a kick return, because it's coming this year. I love the affinity for him taking it out of the end zone. Like there are past players for this franchise who are just like, don't move, just take a knee. Greg Dortch is not that person.
No, not at all. We'll get back to as far as what was going down in practice today, as well as what else are we getting into as far as the show. We've got plenty of show left. We heard from Nick Ralis and how they're going to approach Patrick Mahomes and the champion Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe he mentioned, Keitrell Clark, and he's kind of a dog out there. What's Keitrell Clark and the status of that quarterback competition? We'll get into that, but of course we got to talk about our friends over at OG's. OG's has so many great things going on. You got to visit their website to just keep up with all their new products, all their new things going on as far as this company goes. Being a PHNX listener actually became a whole lot sweeter thanks to OG's brand. Starting today through August 31st, you can get 25% off 100 milligram bags of the fruits and the creams at all Arizona Flower Shop locations. That's at all Arizona Flower Shop locations. You can get 25% off 100 milligram bags. All you have to do is place an online pickup order with the discount code PHNX. Use it at checkout. That's right. The deal is pretty much exclusive just to our PHNX listeners and viewers. It's available for online pickup orders. Discount code PHNX is active until August 31st. So it's a limited time between now, August 31st. You can get yourself 25% off. Don't miss out. They've got all the fruits, all the creams, the mixed bags. check out OG's Brands on Instagram and all your socials. It's flavoring your life.
I got to check on the box score here. My guy DTR looking to lead again, Bo. Bo hates that. Brown's score, according to Dylan's, 2-3. Love that. Also love, listen, I got to scoop up my parents from the airport after the show. My car's on E. Where am I going? I'm going to Circle K. Of course. I'm going to Circle K. I'm going to not only get premium gas at not a premium price, I'm going to load up on snacks, goodies. My parents have been on a plane for 3.5 hours. Hey guys, would you like a buy one, get one free Polar Pop on your dear son? Of course you would. 31310 joins you to the SMS subscriber club. You know, I'm a frugal guy, but I like to, I like to splurge every once in a while, but I don't have to at Circle K. Guess what? Beatbox Hard Tea, buy two, get one free. They have the best snack selection, the best beer, the best coffee, whatever you want. Buy Powerade at 4 for $5. You'll be entered to win. You'll be entered to be one of 10 finalists entered for the 2023 Ford Big Ben Bronco SUV. My guy Bo drives a big truck, so I got to get my SUV to go alongside him, so I can feel superior, because it's hard for me to get in Bo's truck, frankly. So if I win that truck, I'll have to mod it out. Shouldn't take you long to mod this. Text PHNX 31310. Buy one, get one free. Polar Pop. CircleK.com/store-locator to find that Circle K nearest you. Coney just said, just lit up that Circle K, John. Salt saying, not a white Bronco. No. That's not what we want to see on the interstate when I'm going to get my parents. We don't want to see a white
Is it
Bronco.
really tough getting in my truck? Do you need a little boost? You need me to come by and just kind of give you a little?
I feel like when I'm like, hey, I can drive, and you're like, get in my truck, I feel like you're emasculating me on purpose in front of the Cardinals. You're the Cardinals people at State Farm Stadium. It's like, look at Bo's son getting out of his truck with him. Can we take my Mazda once in a while, please? Jeez.
No, I need to overcompensate in the massive Dodge Ram instead of just rolling up in a little mid-size SUV.
Why do you need a truck? What do you haul around? What are you hauling? Hot takes? That's it. That's
it, baby. That's it. It's just fire. It's big enough to carry all the hot takes. Thank God that Circle K is keeping gas prices down for me too to fill up that tank.
It's so good, as is everything Nick Ralis. So did you notice that Nick Ralis on Friday was the hooded man, had a hood up?
I asked him about that.
Okay, so is that a shtick that he's going to do? Because his defense played pretty well. I feel like he's got to roll with it now.
So I said, is Hoodie Ralis returning on Saturday?
Did you say that exactly, Hoodie Ralis?
Yeah, and he's like, he's like, what'd you think? He's like, did you like it? And I'm like, well, is it kind of is it like a persona? And he's like, nah, it's not a persona, but I did feel like I was dialed in. Like, I don't know. I think that's his thing. It might be. I mean, the defense play, you don't mess with a good thing.
No.
And it's way better than not like having to change your underwear or something on a hot streak. I mean, I think it's more, this is a better idea. Hoodie Ralis. It's like Hoodie Mello.
It is. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Hoodie Mello with the Knicks was pretty legit. This is legit. Dylan Richards, Johnny, I can relate. I'm 5'5", man. Welcome, friend. Welcome, brother, to the under 5'7" club.
Couple short kings here.
Yeah, I love Greg Dortch. He cannot participate, but Rondell Moore, he has a full-fledged entry to our club here at the old 5'6" club. What else did Nick Ralis say? Did he actually talk football today with you?
Yeah,
and the rest
he did.
of the Arizona media?
He loves talking football. You better get your lingo down, because if you call somebody was asking about plays, and he broke it down, and he corrected somebody as far as, you don't run plays, you run I butchered it, but he was all over the place, and he was fired up from the performance that the team had on Friday, and then he was kind of chomping a bit as far as going up against the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. That's what he had to say about facing Mahomes and crew.
Get as much out of it.
Do I enjoy good competition? Absolutely. Yes, I do. And yeah, that's a phenomenal offense. Obviously, one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You'll find out how high of a level you can compete. So I'm excited for that.
What's that going to be like?
Yeah, so Nick Ralis is part of that Philadelphia Eagles defensive staff that obviously couldn't finish the job against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think he had mentioned, somebody had asked him about that, and he's like, look, I'm not looking at this as a revenge game, but I'm looking at it as an opportunity to go up against the team that's been consistently one of the best teams in football, and kind of a measuring stick of where this defense could be, because it's not going to be the tackles that the Broncos ran out there, and it's not going to be Russell Wilson who's trying to prove that he can still play in this league. It's going to be probably a half of Mahomes. We'll see how much we get, from their first team. You're probably see a Creed Humphrey. You'll probably see, the offensive line for the Chiefs. And I think that's going to give us a better idea of, is this defensive line that everybody was sleeping on, can they continue to kind of outproduce everybody's expectations?
I just love what Greg said at the top of our chat with him about, like, I'm never going to apologize. No one should ever apologize for competing and winning. And it's just like, what if the Cardinals come out and compete and win Saturday, and they have a similar, I wouldn't expect them to make Patrick Mahomes certainly look like washed Russell Wilson, but let's say the Cardinals have a really competitive outing against 1s and 2s on Saturday night. Like, at what point can you start to believe that this team's ahead of schedule? Specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Because I think the offense, really, you're just kind of bailing water, for lack of a better term, respectfully, until Kyler Murray comes back. But defensively in particular, like I saw somebody in the chat like earlier, which I agree with, like I need to see Ledbetter get after Patrick Mahomes. Like, what if this guy's just unlocked? What if Zaven Collins is ahead of schedule as a defensive end? If this team plays well Saturday night, Bo Brock, are you going to start to believe defensively that this team could be not terrible?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it can definitely kind of change the perception that it has, as close as locally and what the expectations were. I think there are some. I was talking to, I think, Josh Weinfuss at practice today. I mean, just from the next guy on the depth chart, it's just deeper. There's more talent there than there's been in the previous years, and I think that's going to show out as far as this, especially on the defensive side. If they can be, they're going to be younger, they're going to be more physical. They're probably they're going to be a lot better coached, and I think that's going to show up and surprise some people where they just look at it on paper and they're like, oh, you got Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. We'll see if they can kind of unlock a little bit Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, but outside of that, what's there? And it's like you see, Marco Wilson, I think at the end of last year proved that he can play at this league and is a solid, corner one. And then we'll see if anybody emerges opposite him. And Ralis, I'd asked him, do you want somebody to emerge or do you want to keep that a rotation? He's like, obviously you want people to kind of take hold of that, but he just wants people to get better and continue to compete at the corner spot. And then you get the linebackers there like Kazir White and Chris Barnes. And if the defensive, the defensive front's going to be the key here. Like the defensive front, if the front seven can you give that unique and unproven unit, like if they can produce, this is a team that's going to really shock people as far as its ability to stay competitive and shockingly win games that they weren't favored in.
I mean, it's the front seven everybody makes fun of. Not like legitimately like makes fun of the names on the front seven. And that's fine. You can do that. I would do that if it was an opposing team. I would make fun of the players I didn't know. But it's like, how quickly did that flip for Seattle last year? When they were starting, their front seven was no man's land, but they had Pete Carroll and they had John Schneider and they had their mojo back, right? They had a late round corner that did pretty well for them. I mean, it's not illegal in the NFL to get a corner on day 3 and have them come produce pretty well. The Patriots have done that. It's like these franchises, they know how to push the right buttons at certain positions. It's just like maybe the Cardinals have found something. I mean, Keytruck Clark, to me, can he do it again against Patrick Mahomes? Can he string together a couple solid performances? And then in particular on the front seven, like Dylan in the chat, like I thought Zaven looked fantastic in limited time. If Zaven Collins can be 80% of that this Sunday, I think we're ahead of schedule with Zaven. Because again, I don't know if the sack totals are going to tell the whole story. For this team to be successful this year defensively, it starts with stopping the run, something they could never do with Vance Joseph and company. They were atrocious against the run, especially on early downs. If Zaven Collins can close from the edge, right, and you get a little bit of fill from Kazir White and a defensive tackle can emerge. I know somebody in the chat said that Nick said he like steals a lot. If Zaven Collins can have, let's say, like a 75 PFF grade against the run, that's going to be huge for this franchise.
Yeah.
I know that's a baby step. You would love. Where's the 10 to 12 sack season from Zaven? Like, I don't know if I need that in 2023. I think you can supplement with Gardeck and B.J. Ojulari and some other people, but can Zaven keep the ship steady on 1st and second down to get you to the third down so that guys like Isaiah Simmons and Marco Wilson and Budda Baker can make plays in the secondary.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, that's on the defensive side, complementary football, where the defensive front complements the back side of the defense. And like, if you were looking for, and we haven't talked about this much, but we talked to him earlier this week. If you're looking for a defensive lineman to come out of nowhere and really have some solid play this year, I think it's LJ Collier, former first-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks.
I don't hate that.
For whatever reason, him and the coaching staff up there, they didn't mesh. He said that he talked with Pete Carroll before he kind of left the organization and hit the open market this offseason, was an under the radar signing. And, he comes out and he looked pretty fantastic against the Broncos. I mean, he was one of the guys that he batted down a football against Russ. And he was one of those guys that was very disruptive and just throwing his weight around against offensive guards in the interior of the Broncos offensive line. Like, if LJ Collier can tap into even just a little bit of what they thought, what the Seahawks, saw in him to tab him as a first round pick, I think that's going to be a big win for Ralis and JG in this Cardinals defense.
Can he just be solid? Can he be a solid starter? That's what you're looking for. I mean, I think
between him and Ledbetter, I think that you can get those guys could be solid players.
Like, that's because, again, like I use the example, like Solomon Thomas was a bungled fucking draft pick for the San Francisco 49ers that we all laughed at. It was great, right? That guy's going to have like a 10 to 15 year NFL career. He's just a solid player, right? He's not an outright bust, but he's going to go to the Raiders and some other teams. He's going to be a solid starter. Can LJ give you that now that he's out of Seattle? By the way, with the expectations, they could not be different. Like, everybody's pointing at him in Seattle saying, you're a bust, get out, right? You're part of the reason our defense is terrible. He can come here for a team that everybody projects to win 3 or 4 games. All that before the show. And so it's like, okay, I have a defensive savant head coach. I've got a hotshot young defensive coordinator. I've got a wide open position group on the defensive line. I mean, like, that if you were to ask me one player to emerge defensively that's not a young kid, but instead like one of the vets, I think it's LJ. I like him even more so than the defensive tackle they signed from Dallas. I think LJ to me has. I mean, did you see his press conference? I'm sure you did the other day, just talking about like, I'm just much more comfortable here.
Yeah.
And fit is a big deal, as we know.
Yeah. It seems he can he's not forgetting what went wrong in Seattle, but I think he's learning from it. And I think he's now focused on how he can kind of continue his NFL career and find the success that, obviously heavy expectations, but now those expectations, they're gone. And I'm sure you don't want to think of somebody who couldn't, tap into their potential. But I mean, he's obviously got a unique skill set. But yeah, free matter for blind. Absolutely. I mean, and Johnny, it sounds like you watched it. I mean, his press availability, it wasn't DJ Humphries-esque, but it was close. Like, he was just shooting from the hip, just relaxed.
Love that.
It just seems like this is a situation that's conducive to success for a guy like that.
I mean, we're due, right? How many ex-Cardinal early draft picks have left and underwhelmed as a pick of this franchise and gone and had success elsewhere? I mean, it happens a lot, unfortunately. So we're due. Good question from Dylan and a bunch of other people in the chat, but I'll pose it to you. BJ Ojulari going to make his debut Saturday against Kansas City, or are they going to hold him out another week?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Last couple of days, I asked Jonathan Gannon about it yesterday, and then I think Tyler Drake asked Nick Ralis about it today. They still want to see more from BJ on the practice field as he comes back from what they call the procedure this offseason. So I think they're just being cautious with him. They continue to be super cautious with Garrett Williams. I had our colleague Howard Balzer brought up a really fascinating point today. It's like, you got Zach Ertz back, right? He returned to practice today after missing yesterday with a cold, and obviously he was activated from the PUP the day before. So he's practiced twice this week. Cardinals wrapped up practice this week today. They've got probably a walkthrough tomorrow. They'll probably do some sort of walkthrough on Saturday before the game because they play at 5 a little bit later. And then they might practice Monday, they might practice Tuesday, but then they head to Minneapolis or Minnesota, and they're going to have joint practices with the Vikings. So they've got to travel in between. They've got games in between. And then you really you wrap up the preseason on the road against the Vikings that following Saturday. and then you've only got like practice wise, you've only got like 5 more practices left. So as far as having training camp or preseason practices for guys like Ertz or Garrett Williams potentially, or guy that wears number 1,
don't say it.
It's just the opportunities are, there's not a lot left.
I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Okay.
As it relates to maybe the man on my t-shirt, maybe a certain franchise quarterback. I think he gets activated before the start of the regular season, but I think it's close. And I think he practices but doesn't play for the first couple weeks of the regular season. I think the time that you're alluding to now that's going to be limited, I think he'll be on the team, activated, and he will use the week of the Giants, the Commanders to get ready. So I'm not freaking out too much about that. I mean, but the clock's ticking. I mean, when he has to be activated before week 1, does that mean the Sunday of week 1 or the Monday of week 1 before the Commanders?
I think when they have to whittle down, when they have to go from, and they changed it, right? It used to be steps where you used to go like from 90 to like 75, then down to 53. Now it's 90 to 53. So it's just it's a massive cut down day. And then I think by like the Tuesday after the preseason finale, I believe is the deadline to get your roster in, and then you got to make those decisions.
August 29th is that Tuesday after, so he has to be activated within the next 10 days to be able to be not to essentially have not at least missed 4 to 6 weeks to start the regular season.
Yeah, Tuesday the 29th at 1 local time.
I'm going to make a prediction right now.
That's 12 days from today.
Make another prediction.
Okay.
Because it's our show and I can make as many as I want. He's going to get activated that day. They're going to wait until the very last minute and they're going to activate him that day.
So it's going to be big. We're going to have an emergency podcast. Emma's shaking her head. She doesn't see it. It's
we know how the Cardinals roll. They love doing shit like this. He will be activated. If he's activated before the start of
procrastinate until like the last moment, is that what you're saying?
Who wants to bet me that's not the case with this team? I guarantee it's the.
I think you're not giving yourself a lot of wiggle room there.
Well,
I would just take the bet because of that. I mean, so Kyler has to get activated on Tuesday.
The NFL is going to say, "Oh, we didn't get your facts in time, Mr. Ossenfort. He's got to sit out 4 weeks." No, they don't want to see Colt McCoy. They're like, get us Kyler Murray as fast as we can. You think they're going to play hard and fast with a fax machine in Arizona or an email? It's like, no, we've activated him. Sorry, our Wi-Fi was down. Tuesday, August 29th. That's when Kyler Murray is going to get activated.
Wi-Fi wasn't that great at the building today.
Yeah, see that we got to be get him a fucking hotspot. Let's go. We got to make sure we get that in.
Nick pulling off a trade Rondell and Rashard Lawrence for a young running back. Look, I don't think Rashard Lawrence
negative.
I don't know. I just think I don't know if anybody wants. I don't think anybody's going to view Rashard Lawrence at this point is valuable. Maybe Josh Jones. I don't know.
I also think with this regime this year, as much as I dislike it, I mean, I liked when Kime was fast and loose with draft picks last year, and then the chicken came home to roost, and you had to pay the bill in the spring, and that sucked. But I'm like,
right.
I'm going to tell you, right, like when they traded for Cody Ford, I was loving that.
Yeah.
This franchise now is not going to do that because they, in part, are going to be very particular about who they bring into this locker room right before the start of the regular season. They don't want to drop a bomb or a tornado into the culture that they're building. And I think so, like trade-wise, I don't think so. Maybe a waiver wire pickup here or there. They vet the hell out of the player, but like I don't think they're going to spend assets for a guy that then they would have to lock into a salary for this year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that they're going to go out there and spend any kind of draft capital of any significance to get somebody. And only the Bears and the Texans are ahead of them as far as waivers go, right? Man, I mean, so 37 players roughly, right, give or take, are going to be cut from a team. So 37 times 32, you're going to have over, what is that? Isn't that 11? Isn't that
Why are you asking me this?
Isn't that 1,100 players that are going to be? I mean,
they're going to claim some people.
Yeah. And I think you'll see a running back that's not on this roster right now that's going to have, even right out of the gates, probably a significant role with this team potentially, because one's going to become available.
Dylan Richards, who's the biggest cut casualty? Josh Jones. I hope not. I would say right now it's probably
I don't know. I just think he's got. I just wrote that this week, cardswire.com, and I encourage you to check it out. He had Josh Jones and Rashard Lawrence's couple surprising cuts. I get it. I think where Monti Ossenfort and JG and Drew Petzing would probably come into that conversation when you start looking at the offensive line and who's going to make that group and make this team. I think Josh Jones is at least one of, say you have, anywhere from 8 to 10. He's one of the, he fits right there.
Like, what are we doing here if we're just like, well, we have to keep X amount of off-ball linebackers. Let's cut a potential starting tackle, right? Because we got to check about. No, we're not operating like the prior GM. Speaking of that, Nick in the chat, I hate that we drafted Rondell Moore over Creed Humphreys. Thanks, Kime. Middle finger emoji. If that's the perfect way to use the middle finger emoji, by the way. I hate that too. I hate it. And again, I want Rondell to do well. Creed Humphreys, is he the best center in the NFL? If it's not, it's close.
Joel asking about the outside linebacker group. We talked to Ralis about that today. He loves the competition going on in that. I mean, it is a deep group. I mean, we talk about the quartet that we love, right? Between Zaven, Cameron Thomas, Majay Sanders. Those last two are dealing with injuries. And then, of course, BJ Ujulari, also a guy dealing with injuries. Dennis Gardeck, I think those are your top 5. And then you start to look at, I think a Jesse Luketa, Victor Dumakaji, in the mix. Could how many are they gonna carry as far as pass rushers? But there's gonna be some competition there. I think, Saturday is gonna be the main dress rehearsal, right? You're gonna see maybe the starters go until halftime, maybe come out and makes the adjustments and then come back out and then call it a day. But then, like the third preseason game, man, it is going to be a throwdown, all-out, drag-out brawl for the guys who are trying to make this team. And, it's going to be what we watch go down in Minnesota is going to be huge. And I think the joint practices are going to be like the last hurrah.
I was just about to say that. I would say you can make an argument that practices are going to be just as vital before the eventual dress rehearsal. I'm going to tell you, it's vital right now. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Ring the bell for notifications because, Bill Brock, tell the people what we're doing tomorrow.
Before you sneeze, what were you saying before what we're doing
tomorrow? Ignoring me. I was trying to set you up. We're going to predict the 53-man
roster. That's right. Yeah, we're
down to the cut, down to the last man. We're going to predict it tomorrow. Allergy season's here, but it won't stop me from picking the final 53. And we got some surprises in store.
Yeah, we're going to get into especially the depth chart, who we think are the best 22 guys that are going to start, of course, on each side of the football. Who is Isaiah Simmons in the starting defense? Who's the starting corner opposite Marco Wilson? Who's on that defensive line? I think the offensive line is pretty well set. Does Johnny have a little trick up his sleeve as far as quarterback?
This comment from Kyler Wren here. Guys will cut themselves during the joint practice. I agree with what you're saying there. Like, there are going to be some people exposed because they got a close relationship with Minnesota. They scheduled this out. Gannon and Petzing were both members of that organization. Like, they're going to throw their babies out there. Who can sink or swim? There are going to be some people from the Kime era that get fucking exposed in the Minnesota joint practices, and you're gone. Goodbye.
Let's push that Greg Dortch t-shirt one last time.
Of
course, you want to get in on this right now. Support PHNX and, of course, Greg Dortch. You love 83. Wear it on your shirt. Wear it proudly with your chest puffed out. Greg Dortch, a throwback-looking shirt. It's cool. It's gray. It's kind of a different material than we're used to having here at PHNX. Super comfortable, and it's going to look nice and sleek on you, no matter what your build is. Get the Greg Dortch t-shirt with the autograph on there. The PHNX locker PHNX.com. Make it your diehard shirt of the year. Become a diehard today. Go PHNX.com and PHNXlocker.com. Become a diehard. Get access to our member Discord. Get access to all of our events, including all 17 of the games we're going to be watching at the BetMGM Sportsbook. Actually, 18, including this Saturday. But most importantly, during the regular season, you're going to want to be out there with us, and you're going to get access to all those events just by becoming a diehard today. Go PHNX.com and PHNXlocker.com.
Get a spot next to me at a booth or chair at BetMGM this Saturday. Bo's going to be in the press room, hobnobbing, doing whatever he does. I'm going to be down with the peeps at BetMGM. Nachos on me, but
you're going to have a new best friend that will tell everybody who it is.
No one else can have them, but people can watch me eat the nachos as we all watch.
Even the new member of our team, you're going to be a lonely guy eating nachos. You're not going to share them
by himself. No, everybody can come sit with me while I eat nachos, but they're going to be mine and mine only, because they are precious to me, because they are the best nachos in town, as is everything at BetMGM. Fantastic. Thank you so much to the newest member of our team, Greg Dortch, number 83. We are back on a Football Friday, previewing the matchup between the Arizona Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs. In the meantime, like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star. He's Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow.